Welcome to my class. Today we will be having an overview on the nervous system. We'll discuss all this throughout the video. What is a nervous system? The nervous system is a complex network of cells, tissues, and organs that work together to send and receive signals throughout the body of an organism. So a nervous system can be compared to a community like this one, wherein the community itself is the organ. In a community, we have different departments like hospitals, schools, and police stations that all integrate to ensure the community is befitting for all. So the cells and tissues that are integrating the nervous system here are being compared to the schools and the police stations. So they all integrate to ensure that the community functions just like the body. Which organisms have a nervous system? All animals except sea sponges, and we have to note that plants have no nervous system. The overview of the human nervous system. Before we get to know the overview of the human nervous system, we need to know what a nervous system basically is made up of, and I call that the heart of the nervous system. The heart of the nervous system is the neuron. These are specialized cells that transmit nerve impulses or signals throughout the body. So impulses here are generally messages and they are electrical in nature. So an impulse is a message. So we could compare the nervous system to a community. The neurons here are like the roads through which people pass through to send and receive information. There are people who would send, there are people who would receive, and there are people that can even act as mediators. So it gives us rise to different types of neurons as well, and we'll see those in the next slide. So the roads here are being compared to the neurons through which people pass through to send and receive the messages. Types of neurons. So basically we have the sensory neuron, that's the neuron responsible for collecting raw facts from the external environment to the body for it to understand what is occurring in its environment. And we have the motor neuron that is responsible for sending processed feedback to the organs concerned. And we have relay neurons. These neurons are actually in between the sensory and motor neurons, so they help transfer messages between the sensory and motor neuron. Like we see in this image, a sensory neuron collects the raw fact, and the relay neuron helps connect the sensory neuron to the motor neuron. The motor neuron is responsible for sending feedback to the concerned organ for the organism to function properly. So this particular arrangement is mostly seen in the reflex arc, and we'll elaborate on it in our upcoming videos. The nervous system proper. So concerning the nervous system, we have to know three key things to have an overview of it. So I'll just allow you to read these things, then we'll explain better in the next slide. So like you have seen in the text, the nervous system can be divided into the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is the integrative part of the nervous system. It means that is where all information is being processed and feedback is given as required. It is composed of the brain and the spinal cord. Now, for the central nervous system to send the required feedback to different organs of the body, we need neurons through which the electrical impulses will be sent through. Now, the collection of all these neurons from the peripheral nervous system. So, summarily, we'll always say that the peripheral nervous system is made up of the cranial nerves, which are the nerves that leave the brain, and spinal nerves, which are the nerves that leave the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system can then be divided into the sensory division or the afferent division and the motor or efferent division. The sensory division is made up of sensory neurons that collect raw facts from the external environment to the central nervous system, and the motor division is made up of motor neurons that send feedback to the organs concerned. The motor division can then be broken down into the autonomic nervous system and the somatic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is made up of the neurons that send automated responses. Automated in the sense that the consent of the organism is not required for the responses to be sent. And the somatic nervous system usually sends non-automated responses, and that's usually voluntary responses, meaning that the consent of the organism is required in this case. The autonomic system can then be further divided into the sympathetic division and the parasympathetic division. The sympathetic division comes to play when the body has to act very quick. Like, let me say you place your hand on a very hot object, your body has to undergo a flight response to ensure that you remove the hand very quick from it. While the parasympathetic division comes into play when the body is at rest. So it functions to ensure that while at rest, the body conserves energy, so that in case you have to undergo a flight response, you have enough energy for it. So you just go through this for a while to ensure you've understood all the explanations. Take your time. How neurons communicate. It's important for us to know that we don't have just 3 neurons in the body, even though there are 3 types. There are billions of neurons in the body that work together. And we have to note that neurons are not continuous like a pipe, but there are gaps in between the different types of neurons. So these gaps are called synapses. For neurons to communicate between synapses, they use what we call neurotransmitters. So when an impulse arrives at the synapse, it is converted into a chemical signal, which is a neurotransmitter. The neurotransmitter then acts on the next neuron that will stimulate an action potential, generating an electrical impulses. So the impulses are then sent in this same manner until they reach the required destination. So we have to note that there are gaps between neurons called synapses, and the neurons communicate through these gaps via neurotransmitters, which are chemical in nature. Thank you for watching. Watch out for my next video on the structure of the different types of neurons. Like and subscribe to my channel for more explicit videos.